We're back at it again with another Battlefront update. We're already halfway through August, and things have been ramping up on the Battlefront in terms of content and news. Not only did we get 2 new community transmissions in the past week, but as well a small patch that fixes some issues that players have been getting irked about in the past. But that's still not it, as we also have quite a lot of other topics to go over, such as the new PVE Mode, a new ARF Trooper skin leak, and more. And before we get into any of that, but a quick reminder, as if you do like these type of videos, then do remember to give it a like to show your support for not only this update series, but also the content within it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Jumping into the big topics this week, I'm sure most of you that love hero gameplay are well aware that DICE released a new community transmission regarding new hero star cards. For the past few months, DICE have teased the community about big changes made to health on kill cards, and that players themselves wanted them to become passive abilities rather than cards. And well, would you know it, the devs finally reached the point now where they're ready to deploy these changes in the August update. This means that coming in the update, all heroes will have a health on kill as a passive ability. And yeah, you heard that right, all heroes according to Ben Walk will be getting a health on kill passive ability, including even everyone's favorite little green Jedi Master, Yoda. However, Guillaume Raz on Twitter did clarify that DICE will be keeping an eye on things on the rather big change to Yoda. Because as it turns out, a lot of people are against the idea of giving Yoda a health on kill, as it would make him borderline OP. And yeah, they've got a point there. But I suppose that's why DICE apparently will be keeping an eye on things on Yoda and make any adjustments they see needed. As for what happens to their previous star cards, well, rather than just removing those star cards entirely, DICE instead will be replacing them with brand new cards for each and every hero. It's also important to note that all the new cards will retain the same level as the health card that it will be replacing. And because we have so much to cover today, I won't be going through each of the new hero star cards one by one, but of course I will leave a link to the transmission in the video description so you can check it out for yourself if need be. And along with the star card transmission, we were also able to learn the exact date for when the August update drops. And as it turns out, it will be on August 28th, on a Wednesday. Basically the same day I predicted it would be coming out in my last video, but hey, DICE have become so predictable with these late month update releases that it doesn't exactly take rocket science to figure out. And it's also interesting to point out that Kevin Johnson also confirmed that the community transmission coming out during Gamescom will be the biggest one DICE have ever done. I mean, we used to think that the EA Play transmission was big, and hey, it was, and a pretty darn good one at that. So to hear that this will trounce that is absolutely exciting to hear. Moving on, DICE also released a second community transmission on Monday regarding a brand new patch. The transmission itself was titled August Update, and to be honest, it wasn't very large. The main goal of this patch was to hand out some fixes, most notably a stability fix for capital Supremacy when you transition to the capital ship phase. But otherwise, Ben Walk did note that the actual August update will contain even more bug fixes, especially for some of the real notable bugs that we talked about in the previous videos. So that should be pretty good to see happen. As for what this small patch contains, it will fix the following. Back-end stability for transitioning to the capital ship phase when playing Naboo Capital Supremacy, fix the charge and ready milestone not tracking when playing the TX-130, stomp out the bug that saw Obi-Wan Kenobi not affected by Kylo Ren's pull ability while performing all-out push, and lastly fix an issue that would still occasionally allow AT-ST rockets to kill heroes on one shot. And again, as I said before, this is a very small patch and it honestly came out of nowhere. I for one did not expect DICE to release anything before the August update, as I figured they would just pack everything in that package. But we got this, and it's a great move by DICE to at least give us something now instead of waiting almost 3 weeks for some fixes. And well, I wouldn't be surprised if all those complaints that they received during July was what kind of forced their hand in putting out a small patch early just to keep the masses somewhat pleased. Also, since I did forget to cover this in last week's video, but seeing as it is technically still news as it hasn't happened yet, but expect to be seeing major changes applied to capital supremacy in the near future. One of those would be the possible addition of adding bots to the second phase of the mode. When asked if DICE would consider doing that, Ben said, "In theory, we could add auto players to the ship phase. We aren't 100% happy with that phase, can expect tweaks in the future." So of course he isn't straight up saying that bots would be added, but at the same time he's not throwing away that idea entirely. As he says, DICE aren't happy with that phase and are looking at their options on how to make it better, with bots being added likely as one of those options. Personally, I love the way the bots work on the ground level in the first phase, to the point that I wouldn't mind seeing them guard the reactors aboard the ship too. It would be an interesting addition, and like Ben said, in theory it would work. So if DICE do end up adding them in, then I would expect them to monitor the situation and see if in practice it sounds as good as it did on paper. Honestly, it doesn't hurt to try, especially as we know how rare it is to see both reactors get a good defense going. But that's not all, as DICE are also looking into decreasing the game length of capital supremacy matches. According to Ben, DICE will want to stop 2-hour games from happening and instead create a shorter average of time of completion, which in turn would allow them to make changes to the credit payout. And I can definitely get behind this. While at first I loved the 2-hour games, the novelty has since kind of wore off, and the shorter games would be more appreciated and practical, I suppose. At the same time, I don't want 30-minute games like Galactic Assault, but something like an hour would be better, because yeah, the credit payout in capital supremacy is a major problem, with people reporting that you can make more credits from a single short game of Ewok Hunt than a long capital supremacy game. And hearing that obviously doesn't sit right with any of us, so it's about time that DICE start taking some action here. And another change that DICE is looking to add is regarding the bomb timer. While the ground phase will remain at 100 tickets, the bomb timer itself is being increased to 75 seconds. In addition to that, Ben also has confirmed that DICE have way more changes in place for the mode that are likely to appear in the August update. We will of course be learning more of all those changes in the massive community transmission coming out at Gamescom next week. Now on the topic of bugs, Benwalk has been able to address the dreaded stick drift issue that is plaguing the game on the Xbox One. This is basically where you can just be charging in and running straight forward, and then all of a sudden you get your aim yanked to the side, then completely thrown off. Which of course is incredibly annoying, especially to happen in close range encounters. But while Benwalk did confirm that DICE are aware of this problem, his response wasn't the best news, as DICE are apparently having issues in reproducing it, and thus creating a fix for this is proving to be difficult. Of course, he remains that they will continue working on it, and if there will be any updates on this, then I will be sure to cover them. The next topic is a rather sensitive one, but it concerns the new PVE modes that we are to get in the August update. Of course, right now we know very little about them other than Ben stating that they won't be survival horde mode missions like in Battlefront 2015. And from everything we've heard so far, it's been heavily speculated and implied that they're gonna be large-scale offline modes, kind of like instant action from the original Battlefront games. And well, this is where things might start getting problematic, as when one person over on Reddit told Ben that this is what the offline community wants from the new PvE modes, his response was basically, "Okay, nice idea, but how would this possibly work?" Which is an odd response to make, almost making it sound like doing something like this never once crossed DICE's mind. And suffice to say, this got a lot of people worried. But that was only the start of things to come, as when another person asked him about wanting the PvE mode to basically play like the well-known multiplayer modes but in offline, then Ben's answer to this was, "When you say offline, do you mean no internet needed or single player?" And yeah, this is what really got everyone freaked out for real, as based on Ben's response, it somewhat implied that the new PvE modes may need an internet connection to work, which would throw out the whole notion of the offline community wanting, well, a large-scale offline mode. Now, given how vague Ben is, some people are now speculating that this PvE mode will instead be an online-based mode. You just fight bots instead of actual humans that can only be played while connected to the internet. And if that does turn out to be the case, then I won't be shocked if DICE basically piggyback off Battlefield's Combined Arms mode. According to Ben, the Battlefront PvE mode will feature several modes, and that sounds similar to Combined Arms mode in Battlefield 5, which features 4 different ways of playing against bots with your online friends. And considering that DICE have already taken an existing idea from Battlefield once before and ported it over to Battlefront, like Capital Supremacy mode, then yeah, I'll admit it, I'm starting to get a little bit worried about what they're gonna be doing with this new PvE mode. Not to mention, from the reviews that Combined Arms mode got in Battlefield 5, it sounds like it ended up being a dud, and I would absolutely hate for the same to happen in Battlefront 2. Also, it should be noted that before the July break, the devs constantly referred to the August update as having arcade content, which of course hopefully that still stands and we won't have to be connected to the internet to access it. But then again, DICE could easily pull a 180 on that and still make the PvE mode only available in arcade mode, but at the same time making you still need an internet connection, and having what they said still technically stand as true, but not necessarily the good type of true. But with that all said, nothing is confirmed or guaranteed on whether the PvE mode will need internet connection, and everything so far is merely speculation. So I just want to make that part clear, no need to panic just yet. We'll just have to wait until next week to find out the truth. But I'm not gonna lie, at the same time, all of this has kind of set my expectations back a bit. And if we do in fact get this online-only PvE mode, then well, I'll not only be seriously disappointed and angry with DICE's decision, but also sadly not surprised. Moving on, I also want to talk about this pretty cool discovery made by one redditor by the name of Auchowchowski123. According to them, they should have been able to add a shiny ARF Trooper skin to the game without any difficulty whatsoever, as apparently they found one readily available in the game files. Now, it's been a good while since people have found some really compelling things through data mining, but this one is rather interesting. Since the June update, DICE did add the ARF Trooper as a skin, but it was only available for the 212th. Which, while that does look great and something different, I myself would have still preferred the option of having a shiny ARF Trooper. And now seeing that DICE apparently have the skin sitting around in the game files but not releasing it is disappointing. Granted, it's not exactly a shiny ARF Trooper because of the green elements around it, but I still dig it. And besides, let's be honest, it would not be difficult in any way for them to create a shiny ARF Trooper skin. With that said, Auchowski only was able to find, or at least he only showed us, the skin for the helmet, so we don't know if DICE even made this skin for the entire trooper body. Not to mention, just because this is in the game files, it doesn't confirm or guarantee that we will be seeing this anytime soon. If anything, it kind of reminds me of last year's leaked hair debate, where we found this interesting set of hair in the game files that looked like Luke's, alongside another set of hair that looked to belong to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Infamous leaker some_info said that this hair did in fact belong to the farm boy Luke skin that we all heard about, while the other was for Kenobi, which at the time wasn't even officially announced to be coming out. But of course, just because both sets of hair were in the game files at the time meant very little, as while Obi-Wan did later come out in the fall of last year, meanwhile, it's 2019 now and we still don't even have that farm boy Luke skin. Then again, some_info did say that skin was completed over a year ago and that DICE were keeping them in reserve or as a safety net to appease the community if something really went wrong. so it's possible that may also be the case for this hidden ARF Trooper skin. As of right now, it's difficult to say what the future of the skin may be, but I wouldn't mind seeing it in the August update, just saying. Also, I want to quickly touch on this one tweet that Benoit made recently regarding clone commandos. I got a couple of messages asking me to talk about it, and while I personally don't think it's really anything worth talking about, as he doesn't really say anything, I'll give my 2 cents on it real quick nonetheless. So one person on Twitter asked him if commandos will be at Gamescom, and then Ben answered by saying, "Just a rumor, don't believe everything you read or hear on the internet." And of course, this got some people worried that clone commandos aren't coming out anymore. But really, this is only a non-answer from him, and it doesn't confirm or deny anything here, as he isn't allowed to do so. Besides that, he's also said the same about other things that are now in the game. So in my opinion, I wouldn't really think too much into a tweet that doesn't really mean anything. The best way I can compare this to something is like the Matt Smith situation, where he's not wanting to admit that he's in episode 9 even though all the leaks and the people behind the production say that he's in it. Now, I'm sure Smith would have no problem saying that he's in the movie if Disney allowed him to do so. But since they haven't for whatever reason, then he's not allowed to say anything on the topic. Going back to Battlefront, obviously clone commandos aren't a guarantee, no one said that, but out of any new clone reinforcement we're expected to get, then I can't see it not being a commando. As it stands, we know from Dennis Branval that they're wanting to add new reinforcements, which recently scored high in the July survey too. We also know the Republic are still missing a reinforcement and a proper counter for the Droideka. Then the prophecy that Ben speaks of is also something clone related, as he included the hashtag Together Brothers when he first spoke about it, which is to tell that he's obviously talking about something clone related. Not to mention, DICE also know how badly the community want clone commandos, similar to how they wanted Droidekas before, which are even harder to program. And let's not forget that Jay Ingram also said that clone commandos would be the counter for Droidekas, and the only reason they went with ARCs at first over commandos was because they were easier and faster to make, along with so much other teases and leaks that all point to the new reinforcement being a clone commando. So for the time being, I still have no reason not to believe that clone commandos will get announced at Gamescom. That is, unless someone can name a different clone reinforcement that DICE could add over commandos. And well, would be a cooler addition and counter for Droidekas than commandos too. If you can name just one, then I'm all ears. But that'll do it for this Battlefront update. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars related content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.